Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no flight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's work.
Well, welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson Knight. Of course, with me tonight is the lead cub in charge, Techy Joe. How are you, darling?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you this evening?
Oh, pretty good, pretty good. You're sounding like old radio. I'm telling you, that Paul Harvey voice on.
Hey, I don't know.
Which microphone are you using?
The newest headset that we got.
Yeah, you might want to switch it back to your camera mic.
You're not liking that one?
No, it sounds like you're trying to come across an AM radio with a band shifter.
Oh. Let's see what happens if I do this. Any better?
No.
Oh, sorry. Let me try the right one. That might actually work.
Goodness. All right, how are we now?
Terrible.
Still terrible.
Yes. Okay, now you're starting to get back to human level.
All right, I'm human again.
Yes.
There we go.
Don't sound like the announcer at Walmart.
The store will be closing in 5 minutes. The store will be closing in 5 minutes. No, never in my Hallmark days did I ever have to do that announcement.
Oh, I kind of like the ones at Kroger's now that announce it at 40 minutes to the close, 30 minutes to the close.
That one's kind of nice. Like, yeah. I enjoy, like, because now if you wait till like the last 15 minutes or, less, everyone does that rush to get like one more thing. Like, you started at like 30, 40 minutes, like 45 minutes, something like that. Then when everyone psychologically does that, one more thing, it's really not that big a deal. So then you're just down to the very small group that are like, no, you close it.
Closing for.
Do what now?
The me group that's like, what the hell are you closing for?
Well, yeah, or the group that's like, no, you close at 10. By God, you will work till 10.
10:05 at least. Get you some overtime, people. Like, we got to increase that labor production there.
Yeah. I'm sorry. My retail days were back when I had a manager who adjusted timesheets. Like, no, we did not leave late ever.
Oh, Walmart's somebody's Walmart's is opening again. We'll be opening again at 7 a.m. in the morning. Isn't that morning part a given with AM? Not really, and it really depends on their system and time zone. Some stores, and I think one store needs to get open on this midnight shift up in here, because I think they're losing a lot of businesses, and Sheetz is rolling it in. I mean, Sheetz and the Exashell are rolling in the extra dough. They're stocking things that people run out of in the middle of the night.
Well, and also given our workforce in this area, we do still have open running mines. So you have a lot of miners that are, there's a 24-hour shift. And they're used a little more used to having 24-hour businesses. At least 2 of them. Now they're down to 1. So yeah, it makes a difference. It makes a huge difference.
You got mines, you got hospitals, you got nursing homes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. On the nursing homes and hospitals.
Yeah.
It does make it, again. It's a big part of this. Is okay.
All right. I'd have to turn you back down again.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. But yeah, don't know what to tell you there. But no, it does. It is part of the new or ideal is that we are gonna be more 24/7.
Yeah, and that should be hopeful. Oh, hi Brenda, you snuck in on me. Shannon, hello. Shannon C, hi. We've been talking to you. And Facebook, you, hello. But no, it just annoys me. There's no reason with a self-checkout that they should close at night now if all the restrictions have been happening.
Well,
and see, that didn't make sense to me either. Why do you want to contain people? You want them spread out as much as possible.
Well, the general theory was so that they could close at night to clean. But that still means there's a 24-hour shift operating in that Walmart.
Right.
And there's a day shift and a night shift.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, dear. Oh, Facebook user. That is... Oh.
Yep.
It has been very, very, very hot. Wow. I am so sorry you're suffering, and especially, and I get that. So apparently Facebook user's son got a second Moderna shot and is feeling feverish. Yet it's hot and humid outside. They're in the battle.
Yep.
That's a struggle.
Yeah. That's a struggle all summer, though. One too hot, one too cold, one too crazy.
I am not crazy.
That's debatable. Give me a couple hours. I'll get that taken care of.
Well, there you go. But,
it has been a week, and it's been a busy week. It's been a really interesting week. As y'all know, last week the show was delayed.
We were
very delayed, and we're very sorry for it. But it was an important mission. We went and got an Australian Shepherd that we were told was a girl. From underneath a trailer that had been there for it started out 2 weeks, and when we were done, I heard 3 months.
Yeah. We had conflicting reports of what puppy's life has been.
Right.
Yeah.
So, get puppy home, and we're playing with puppy, and we're working with puppy, and we're finding a name for puppy, and
just starting to get some recognition of puppy name.
Yes.
Just starting to get that recognition.
Yes. So we had settled on the name Serena. So we're out, we're playing, and Serena finally jumps up and is all excited, and ball is her world, and rolls over, and Serena, well, that wasn't the only lie as far as timing that we were told. So the ideas of bows and in their hair and getting their nails painted and taking them to dog shows that are dress-up contest dog shows are really cool to do. Yeah, I had to yell at Melissa. I said, come out here and check this and see if I'm wrong. I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
So Serena is now Gizmo.
Yep, Serena is now Gizmo. Yep, Serena is a boy.
Yep.
Not a girl. So yes, we had a gender reveal party, is what that turned into. Oh, which created some complications too.
Right.
Because finding out that puppy was male was also a bit of a concern there, because in the stage in which the dog was being posted as missing,
Mhm.
or that a effectively found dog situation where everything was being posted about the dog found,
Mhm.
looking for the missing dog component.
Mhm.
Half of that story, everything had been posted about a female dog.
Mhm.
So finding out that Gizmo was a boy was a little bit of an issue, because one person had said that they had lost a dog very, very similar to that. And we actually had a little bit of a freak out,
Mhm.
because we got, linked up there for a minute. And before we could actually get in contact with that person, we started seeing pictures of the dog.
Yes.
And like, we were having a whole moment there
Mhm.
that, oh no, I think this is their dog.
Yeah.
I really think this is their dog.
Right.
So for a hot second, we thought we had a Gus.
Right.
Turns out, thankfully, Gus was found
Mhm.
before we got Gizmo.
Gizmo.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
but then this also gave us pause to go through and look and see the other pictures that had been posted of Gizmo. And turns out Gizmo had been on the road since January.
mm-hmm. Yeah, Gizmo had been spotted a few times. Well, or Gus. Because now that's the other part of this equation, is both dogs look similar.
Right, but Gus
They
gets
are
his
super
hair done. Gizmo doesn't.
Okay.
That's how I figured it out. Luckily, someone was nice enough to post pictures of Gizmo getting his hair done, and he gets a teddy bear cut.
Oh, Gus does.
Gus does.
Yes.
Gizmo
Yeah.
never had a cut.
Well, I think Gizmo's probably had one cut, because we found out that Gizmo was also fixed.
Well, that, but I'm talking about other, like, massive coat shaving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's 6 months we've decided that he's been on the road in different places. And I'm not saying the dog can't do drag. I'm saying the dog shows won't let him do drag.
That was my first response.
Yeah.
If Gizmo feels pretty, Gizmo can wear whatever Gizmo wants. That's all I care about.
Yep. And right now he loves his little harness.
He does love his harness. And the harness is very helpful.
Mm-hmm. And you guys will see him on camera when he calms down.
Yeah, we're still going through that adjustment period. He's a little... He's I guess more so used to having to scream for things or attention, or for, out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he gets a little overexcited.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep.
Once he gets started,
mm-hmm.
we literally do have to go, okay, time for bed.
Yep. Time for a nap.
Time for a nap. He has a crate. He has tons of toys.
Mm-hmm.
He has a good calm down.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back out perfectly fine, happy, sweet, and adorable.
Like, okay, but he's like a toddler too.
Mm-hmm.
Now the reason we named him is by 1 o'clock he is a holy terror.
Yeah. His bedtime is dead on 1 at the latest.
Yes.
There's no keep him up any later than that. He can't take it.
Right.
He's like, he has had it. He is cussing you out.
And we still haven't taught him, and we're right now working on sit and come to his name. We will eventually, he'll eventually get that he doesn't have to stay up with the humans, that he can go on to bed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he seems to right now mostly assume that if we're up, he should be.
Right.
Or if we're doing something, he should be.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I give him a lot of credit for the fact he doesn't seem to get quite as... One, he does not get upset with new people.
No.
He actually gets more upset if he's not immediately allowed to talk to new people.
Right.
That was a weird one. We were going the other way. Like, okay, I'm afraid he will be, intimidated, upset, etc. New people entering space, he's going to be upset.
Right.
Turns out it goes the total opposite.
Mhm.
He gets more upset if he is not right there at the door to greet them. So
Right.
we had that fun experience. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm. And it'll get more interesting as he starts to develop. We're 1 week in. It normally takes about 3 months for a dog to fit into your world and you to fit into theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll see what we got to work with and challenge us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So before we jump into the news, I thought we'd also talk about something we started talking about this morning.
Okay.
How now 3 different generations see things.
Oh.
We don't travel between 12:30 and 4:30 in the morning. We don't go down to, certain counties.
Yeah, I don't know that I so much grew up with that one exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mostly had like parts of town that I had always heard you're not supposed to go there, or that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I've never really been one to pay attention to those things.
Uh-huh.
Like, I go out and go wherever the hell I want to.
Right. I don't know. It's just like when I came out, my uncle looked at me and says, well, we got to get you a gun, a loud dog, and these are the rules. You don't go out between 12 and 4:30 because if the police pull you over, you're in trouble. There's no, you can figure out what else to do. And then he went into this spiel about, you might want to leave this small town.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay. And I think he was trying to be nice. And I've seen other generations. That's also when I got my birthday speech. I.e., you need to get your testing done. It's easy to remember to do it on your birthday. I don't think your generation got that.
Not really. Though then again, the North Carolina experience was a weird one.
Uh-huh.
Well, then again, it's not like the West Virginia experience got any better when I moved back.
Right.
Because I will acknowledge the fact that at least in North Carolina, there were at least like some questions.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for early 2000s, that was kind of important.
Mm-hmm.
Some questions about, are you sexually active? Do you use condoms every time? Do you blah, 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 blah? Those questions were there. Most places were kind of like checking off boxes on a list. They really weren't informing like medical decisions at that point.
Right.
Eventually it got to the point that it started to, and then I moved back here.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved back here, it seems like there's this total assumption that, you're heterosexual and HIV doesn't happen to heterosexuals. So, why talk about it? We don't talk about it. Fast forward a few years, it started to become, again, sort of like North Carolina was getting to, in which it was questions on a list that, like, they asked,
but
it wasn't quite informing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we're kind of like our doctor being younger, and he's a little more like, do you want to?
Right.
He still, I think, approaches it like a little kid glove.
Mm-hmm.
But at least it's there.
Mm-hmm.
And like, to ask for it is no big deal.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
That's been my experience. Now, outside of the healthcare situation, working with a student org, trying to sit there and like, you need to get tested. You need to, here's free opportunities to get tested. Here's what you need to do to get tested, blah, blah, blah. Those kinds of things. Again, early 2000s. And North Carolina was an ugly place for a while.
Right.
Especially after one case in particular in which someone who was already HIV positive became infected with a sexually transmitted infection after that HIV diagnosis, like a couple of years more. And the state got really ugly in that situation. And he was actually charged with criminal transmission without a complaining, so to speak, victim. Okay, what actually happened is these two individuals met. They had sex without a condom. The partner that was not HIV positive was aware of the situation and consented. Knew what he was doing, knew what he was getting into, was not in the least concerned about this. Meanwhile, the HIV positive partner is on meds and was undetectable. Okay, this turned into a criminal transmission case, which was a bit of a stretch to begin with, because one, granted, this is pre-U equal U, undetectable is untransmittable. But even still, the person that was the supposed victim of the HIV positive partner's crime was not a complainant. Was sitting here going, nothing that occurred was non-consensual, nothing that occurred was criminal, but the state decided to proceed with that. He ended up in jail. That had a really strong chilling effect in North Carolina on new testing. It was a really ugly situation and a complete misuse of the concept of criminal transmission. Because effectively, this was someone who, granted, did have sex without a condom after an HIV diagnosis, but did so in a way that involved consent, disclosure, and was effectively not like, even on the science of the time, it was still deemed super low risk of transmission. Pre-U equal U. It was still considered really low risk. Yeah, massive chilling effect. It just didn't set well with a lot of people. A lot of people no longer wanted to get tested, or out of the concern that, this could happen to you. Is that effectively the state now owns your genitals and can tell you where you can put them and how. And that at any time, so not only did HIV testing have a problem, then we had problems with people that were HIV positive not wanting to get tested for other STDs or STIs. Again, on the same line. So you effectively ran into a problem in which this, and I'll call it a well-intentioned but totally misguided idea of criminal transmission. My understanding of criminal transmission comes from, I believe it was a New York case back in the 90s, in which a man found out he was HIV positive and then proceeded to not get treatment, possibly because, couldn't afford, didn't have access, etc., or just chose not to. but ultimately went on to intentionally infect others.
Right.
Failed to disclose his status. And these were not partners who had enough information to be consensual to the sexual situation they were in. And I believe there may have also been an element of, before we had the word stealthing, intentional condom removal and sabotage, aka stealthing. That part I'm a little unsure on, because it's been a while since I've read that one. But all in all, like, totally different situations, but that was the idea on criminal transmission. Additionally, it was also looked at, I believe, as some form of, I guess, preventative, for like the old horror story myths of, HIV positive men are infecting, putting blood-soaked razors into, apples, or broken syringes, and blah, blah, blah. There was a bunch of that in the 90s into the early 2000s. The urban legend, horror idea that really technically didn't even hold up scientifically all that well. Just on the sheer basis that HIV doesn't live outside of the body very long. It's very, very limited in its capacity to successfully survive, except in a very specific temperature range. Little too hot, it dies. Little too cold, it dies. Unless you freeze it. And even then, there can be some issues with that, I believe. But all in all, not really, as the one part of the virus, it's not super easy to use that method to transmit, like blood-soaked razors or whatever. None of that, like, unless it is instantaneous. Which is like the needle sharing problem.
Here's the thing, and here's the thing that I'm always said, and I don't understand why they're not using these laws. They only use these laws, it seems to be, on HIV and typhoid. I do not understand why they have not used these laws on COVID.
That's probably, well, and I'm starting to wonder how much of that has come out of criminal transmission for HIV. As in, fundamentally, this blew up in a lot of people's faces. This was supposed to, it was supposed to protect a lot of people, was the theory, when the reality was it actually did far more harm. Not only in terms of disease testing, prevention of transmission. We saw some skyrocketing numbers in the wake of a bunch of these, because I think there were a few really bad criminal transmission cases. And I mean bad in terms of this was a really bad use of this. Like, not what you want to use this for. Because I think there were also some cases out of like officers being spit on, or at least allegations that they had been spit on by someone who is HIV positive. Like a lot of really ugly uses of this is like, this is not where you want to go with this. This doesn't want to be the first. This doesn't want to be a tool in the toolbox you just want to yank out at any point. Like, you don't go waving this one around every time it could possibly apply. You really want to save this one. This is a special tool for very, very specific circumstances, in which the level of intention to cause someone else harm, it is severe. And Instead, it got used in every little like spitting case or biting or whatever, like someone bit someone else. That was not
Right.
and it had a severe chilling effect
Right.
on testing and treatment and
I know. And it had a very chilling effect on a lot of things. You know, and this is what happens when we have new shiny laws. Here's one for the Republican. The Republican Florida governor tried and got a law passed over the George Floyd uprisings and protests and everything else to censor that and to hold people at criminal charges. Yeah, this new shiny pretty law may actually be used against the Trumpian.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be a fun one.
It does, because there's video of him squealing his tires all the way across the Post Memorial street crossing. And, clips showing him spinning tires and making black marks. He's been charged with criminal mischief for over $1,000, reckless driving, felony enhancings of evidence of prejudice. Retired Judge Rand Hutch, the president of the Palm Springs Community Human Rights Council, weighed in, saying that he's looking into this sequence very seriously and could face up to 15 years in jail.
Well, part of me wants to sit here and have a moment where it's like, haha, just desserts. Part of me also, from a strictly like legal standpoint, and knowing that this is exactly the same kind of thing, to some degree, is you start pulling brand new laws, and everyone wants to be the first one to try a case on it. Everyone wants to be a first one to try a case on it. And one, it may be a law that has been poorly written, because we've seen tons of those. And we also fear what will occur in terms of precedent.
Right. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with this. We also got some good news today. 22 and a half years. Final sentence finally.
Yeah, so out of the George Floyd murder case, Derek Chauvin got 22 and a half years. There's still, I believe, 2 or is it 3 other officers awaiting trial?
3 others.
Yeah, so it was not the 40 that he could have received. However, it was still more than what was expected.
Right.
Like, I believe by a decade. I believe where the reports I were hearing is it was expected to be more like 12 and a half.
Right. It was expected to be like 12 and a half years in jail. But with a max of 40 and average the similar crimes around the 12 and a half years. Floyd's brothers asked the court for the maximum 40 years. The prosecutors, as expected, asked for 30. The judge said 22 and a half.
Yeah. Now, the part in the story that really got me, and it was kind of a head shake moment. So Chauvin's mother pops in and, is trying to defend that her son's not a racist and he's a good man. And all I can keep thinking is, no. Like, I'm sorry that none of this has been able to puncture your bubble and let you like reevaluate your adult human being of a child and their actions. But no.
No, 9 minutes. You're not a good man.
Well, point blank, in this situation, that it's just one more. To me, it feels like one more dig at the family.
Right.
And it's like, no, like, I get she's hurting. I get this is a horrible situation. I get there's a lot of things going on here.
Right.
And there, maybe she is stuck in, the denial portion of grief.
Mm-hmm.
But that also troubles me.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to like get to a point where you can accept this real quick.
Right.
We're not revoking him as a human being, but yeah, no.
Mm-mm.
No. Continuing to defend his character at this point is a moot point.
Right.
Like, just stop right there.
Right.
You really have to accept everything that has gone on here and find a way to deal with that. And move forward, because otherwise you're going to basically end up with a double whammy, which is, trying to struggle through this. Through the conviction, through the charges, through the whole thing.
Right.
And what always worries me in that situation is this is going to become that parent that effectively keeps telling their child, you didn't do anything wrong. And then this is someone who comes out of prison in 22 and a half years.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that what they did was not wrong.
Right.
Because,
Yeah.
That's not the best way to support your child. That's not the best way to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
It just isn't. Like, you have to accept they did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to move forward after that.
Right.
If you can't get there, then I really worry that this is going to be 22 and a half years of building anger and resentment that gets released from prison. Or probably not even 22 and a half years, because there's a possibility that this may turn into a reduced, like an early release.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my thoughts on that one.
Right.
Like, that worries me.
Well, it worries me. It worries me. The behavior worries me. But there we see that, she still believes that her child done nothing wrong.
Ultimately, yes. Like, I'm sorry, you can't make that sentence or make that statement and not basically preclude the idea that your child did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that, they deserve to be punished for the crime they committed.
Right.
I can understand there are instances in which, someone wrongly goes to prison. And I get that. And I can get why the family holds on to that, is that you were wrongfully convicted.
Mm-hmm.
He was not wrongfully convicted.
No, and he was on film. Like, DNA is great, but this is on film. Here you go.
Yeah. It's so, part of me, while also feeling horrible for George Floyd's family, also has, a fair bit of sympathy for Chauvin's mother.
Right.
Because this is going to be a hard one to swallow when it hits. Like, I'm hoping there's some really good therapy there for her. Because that's going to be a hard one.
But I'm going to say this battle wasn't done.
Okay.
I'm going to say that they're going to probably appeal 2 to 3 more times. And then by then he'll be ready to try for parole. And, it's a battle and a battle of a battle.
Mm-hmm. There is every possibility of that.
Right.
So, I mean, to some degree, I can understand
Mm-hmm.
that, right now in terms of trying for appeal.
Mm-hmm.
Which realistically, I don't think any appeal they could go after.
Mm-hmm.
It's really going to be one of like total innocence.
Again, they will do whatever they can. They already gave him credit for 180 days he spent in jail. That's balling.
Well, I'm more so meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, guys, I have tea with fruit in it. But I more so think any appeal he's going to be able to work is probably going to have to be based on his role as a police officer and the training he received were such that, you know, he is not totally at fault.
Right.
I think that's the only appeal he's going to be able to really harshly work.
Right.
And that could be a big deal. Because that could very much, because we've seen a lot of cases in which police officers do not suffer any repercussions for any action they take under this kind of blanket indemnity that you can't sue them. You can't criminally go after them. They are not responsible. I think that could really change how that works in terms of it could either become a federal level precedent that in turn does one of two things. Either legitimizes that idea that officers are not responsible,
right,
or really changes how a situation in which an officer causes harm or death is prosecuted, or if it's prosecuted at all, more importantly,
right,
and removes that shielding that a lot of places have.
Well, what do you do when the cop knows the DA and all? I mean, and we get into this in small town problems. And that's kind of what I started out with. We don't travel between 12 and 4 and yada, yada, yada. That's because when the cops know the DAs and the DA and the sheriffs know this, it becomes a cluster mess.
Okay.
And we get a lot of unreported activity. We're just now starting to see that pop loose in West Virginia, though. The Summers County case. They've now indicted 3 people on.
Oh, the which one? The officer and the child pornography?
Yes, the fire chief and the child pornography.
Yeah, sorry.
Else and of the fire department and child pornography. I mean, I think that's just the start of the wheel. Well, since we're talking about prisoners, let's talk about one that turned up dead.
Yeah. Very weird into what was already a really weird story to begin with. John McAfee, creator of McAfee Antivirus, was found dead in his jail cell. Just as he was to be extradited to the U.S.
Right.
Yeah. To be very honest, I can't say I reacted with a lot of sympathy or, I don't know, even shock at this point. His situation, like almost household name in the 90s, or effectively well-recognized name in the 90s and even to today. His story after creating McAfee and the company became successful just kept getting weirder.
Right.
The product kept getting worse. And it's kind of been a couple of decades of waiting for him to overdose or something insane to happen to him.
Well, there's a few insanity things going on here.
Mm-hmm.
One, he had decided, I don't know if he had decided or was under the impression that the CIA was after him for information he had. He supposedly has 32 gigs of corrupt government evidence that will be released within 72 hours after his death. We're past that. The last post, and I'm trying to understand how he's in prison but posting to Twitter and Instagram.
Probably through, like, I would assume, either, depending upon how he was being held prior to extradition, he may have had, a fair degree or fair latitude.
Mm-hmm. Because last
nothing,
Instagram post was a Q.
Oh, God. Because the Q following needs more.
Mm-hmm. Some people are questioning if this was a hit or not. There is a bit chain going around that people are gotten linked into. That's supposedly the encrypted information that will start unveiling itself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, how much level of insanity is this? And then I'm on the other side of this.
Mm-hmm.
My other side of the brain says, well, let's see. He was killed. Epstein committed suicide. McAfee committed suicide. What's up with this?
I don't know if it's the new martyrdom. Like, and I know that's almost a conspiracy theory in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like the new martyrdom is that if you can't, get killed by the government, you can, suicide in prison under some really wonky circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Leaving, like in McAfee's case, leaving a note that says, if I die in custody, it wasn't me.
Sure.
That kind of thing. I don't know. I'm struggling with that whole situation.
Right.
I would not think McAfee, given his last 20 years, would be someone that would not be on a suicide watch.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how you could, in good conscience, not have him in custody under suicide precaution.
Right.
I mean, he has not been really mentally stable for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He's made a lot of outlandish claims. He's made a lot of he's done a lot of really out there things.
Mm-hmm.
Both with the company, in his personal life. He's been all over the place mentally.
Right.
For a while, I think everyone went, okay, he's an eccentric genius. And then it got to the level of, okay, this is more than eccentric. This is just kind of crazy.
Right.
This is unmedicated something.
Right.
So, I think there would be a very serious concern having him in prison, that, this could happen.
Right.
So,
a lot of posts about it. So I'm kind of sitting back and waiting. What's he got? Old photographs of Lincoln? Everything comes out in the wash, my grandmother used to say.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of coming out in the wash, Trupsian bootlicker Rudy Giuliani is no longer a lawyer.
Oh, was he before though? Was he before though?
He was trying to be a lawyer, but he has been suspended from practicing law in New York. So he is no longer a lawyer. And then he tries to motion to the judge to get the case against him with Dominion thrown out. I don't think the judge is going to do it. And technically now the judge doesn't even have to listen to him.
True. Oh.
So this will be interesting to watch play out.
There's got to be a moment, though, when your former lawyer loses their license.
Uh-huh.
Like, their ineptitude rises to the level.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a because I don't think this is a suspension for a definitive portion of time, is it? It's like an indefinite, like it's gone. Like, good luck with that. Have a nice life. Find something else to do.
Get your hair transplanted. Take 6 months off. Let your lawyers do the work. Spend your time in jail. Pay out your big, I think they're suing for $9 billion, and then hope that you're able to hold on.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that I don't know. I didn't see him doing much in terms of being a lawyer before. He certainly hasn't done much for his clients.
Mm-hmm.
Except actually be probably the biggest problem they had.
Right.
As in listening, he seemed very intent on telling his clients whatever they wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that wasn't something he could do.
Right.
Or was not legal, or was not, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, I like a lawyer, like, seriously, if I've got to get legal advice, like, I want the lawyer that does not want to immediately agree with me and tell me that, yes, we will work around that.
Right.
I want the lawyer that if I'm planning to do something,
Mm-hmm.
goes, no. And here's why. And, like, this is something you can do, but you can't do it this way at all whatsoever. Or no, just no, do not.
Right.
Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Bad idea. You will go to prison.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. All right. So do we want to talk about construction in Florida, or why we're not eating at Subway for a very long time?
Oh, I think Subway is probably our first best place to go now.
Go for it.
So Subway, and this was a story that, like, I just read this and, like, I don't know, my stomach just stopped working for a few minutes. One, I felt very grateful. I have never liked their tuna sub, but to hear that the tuna, we're now using quotation marks around the word tuna, in the Subway tuna sub has no identifiable tuna DNA. Quite frankly, the lab that tested it didn't know what the hell it was. But it was tuna. Their only other explanation is it had been so over-processed in terms of just the amount of like processed food process had been done to it that it was impossible to obtain a DNA sample. But they did this test across, I believe it was 60 inches of tuna sandwiches from 3 different Subway locations in Los Angeles.
Right.
None. Not one.
Not one of them had tuna in it.
Not one of them had identifiable tuna DNA. What's in the tuna sub? No one knows.
It's not tuna. It's not even tuna surprise, where the surprise is there's no tuna in the dish. Well, it could be called tuna surprise subs.
No. I'm sorry. What the hell happened to real food? Can we just talk about that? Because we had that the other day and dearly, well, yesterday.
Yesterday, yes.
Real
food. Talk about that.
Like, and my first reaction was, how do they make money? Like this little this gas station restaurant,
General store.
yeah, general store. Like, it is like this small community has this one little thing right off the interstate, and we have friends that live near it. That and is how we found out. They make amazing pizzas. They make amazing hot dogs that are huge. That are not like mystery meat wieners. You know, they are actual like sausages. How do they make money? I don't get it. We spent $18.35 for dinner for 3 people. Everyone was stuffed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as in, I think we were both possibly regretting the second hot dog.
Never.
Okay. But because they're huge, it's like a hot dog on a sub bun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just let that flow through you for a minute. But that's a huge hot dog. So, and my only reaction is $18.35. How do you make money for this much food?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've spent more than that, or we've spent more than that.
Yeah.
On like 4 hot dogs and a pizza everywhere.
Right.
Like, and we're talking like hot dog, you know, basic, standard American, you could make this at home hot dog.
Yeah. Like, bring out the Subway bun measuring stick.
Oh, yeah. By the way, side note, yeah, Subway is now required to actually have a measurement tool
Mm-hmm.
in stores to ensure that their subs are 12 inches. You know, apparently internet inches isn't working anymore.
We got on to that crap.
But no, I'm just sitting here going, and it's a horrible thought to have as your first thought while you're eating an $18.35 meal is how, and that's divided amongst 3 people, you know, how do you afford this? This is real food. These are all real ingredients. You baked a hot dog bun.
Mm-hmm.
You made slaw and chili from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
You did all of this.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make their own weenies out. That's the only one thing I can think of, because those weenie, the weenie on the hot dog was delicious.
The cost of meat alone, even if they're making their own, the meat to go into it.
I don't know. Did you see any pig pens around there?
Fair point. No, we didn't. I don't think.
I didn't either. But that's about the only thing that was store bought if they don't make it.
Yeah.
All right. We had a question.
Mm-hmm. And based on the question, I know the user.
Yeah. One of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So yes, I do feel contact. I do feel like it is a comfortable contact. And again, I think you need to be listening to your doctors and chilling, relaxing. God, this camera's being fussy today. And then also being the lady. Learn to, let people help you out, let things get organized, finish the process. But you do hear from him before your surgery.
All right.
All right.
But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So back to the sausages, though. I don't know if they make them or not. I'm just sitting there looking at this whole process going, how do you make money? I don't get it. But I find it amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoy real food.
Mm-hmm. That's all right. There's a place up that next time we go to Clarksburg, or Fairmont area, there's hot dog stand up there that Brenda's been teasing me with pictures of forever. We got to go check out.
Ooh,
yeah, awesome. Joan posts pictures all the time of these gorgeous looking hot dogs.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Easiest way to get you in.
Uh-huh.
Like, you love your hot dogs.
I do. You know.
Like, he has a Ben Matlock level obsession.
I do. I do have a Ben Matlock level of obsession. Now, California dogs, oh my God, if I can ever find a place around here that does those are delicious.
Well, because your first question was, did I have any trouble ordering mine?
Yes.
And I didn't get that for a minute because I do a chili cheese dog. That's it. I want chili and cheese. Sometimes I want mustard. Generally, I want mustard, but it's variable. But yeah, I didn't get that. Like, I don't get that.
Because, honey, you're in slaw country. I'm surprised you didn't get asked 3 times, do you want slaw? We have not been to Hillbilly Hot Dogs yet. We haven't gone to the area yet.
Oh, wow. They sell out by 1 to 1:30. Wow.
Wow.
You know it's good when. See, now, when I was in North Carolina, I do have to say one of the best, worst, however you want to rank that, things about my college experience is we had a lovely place called Yum Yums just off campus. Ice cream and hot dogs. I lived next to it. My dorm was like, there was Yum Yums, parking lot, and my dorm. Bad enough when I had the room on the back side of the building, but when I got the one that was right there on the same side, it is weird how early in the morning they start making hot dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Like they get the hot dogs going. Yeah. I used to wake up to that every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is a smell. Shannon's in the I don't like hot dogs, but I love brats.
Can understand.
Yeah.
I like a West Virginia hot dog, add relish. I like a California hot dog. I like a Chicago dog.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm just chili cheese. I'm real simple.
I know you like a coney.
Oh. Ooh. I've been ordering the same hot dog for years everywhere. I want chili cheese and mustard.
That's a coney dog.
Yeah.
Northerner.
What? Well, granted, I typically like my pigs in a blanket more.
I know.
Ooh, hot dog with a red hot. That sounds right up your alley.
Oof.
Oh, don't get the dog started.
That sounds delicious. Because one of my favorite, like, on the road snacks is the Bahama Mamas.
Meanwhile, I'm just sitting here going, that sounds like an antacid commercial for me.
Yep.
Like, oh.
I've had Red Hots.
Oh, yeah, he loves those.
Yes.
Oh. You do like your spicy meats.
I do. I do like my spicy meat. So, another reason for me to never rent a condo.
Oh, yes, the Florida situation. So yeah, that's been a very frightening situation.
Yeah.
So my area, Miami area condo collapses. Many are feared dead. So yes, a 12-story beachfront condo in Miami. The what is it? Oh, of course I got the short story. Oh, goodness. I thought we'd brought up the big one, but I brought up the short story.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So
yeah.
apparently this condo with 12 stories just collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
Beachfront property. They've pulled 35 people as of 11:30 this morning out, but they're not exactly sure. Um, the mayor is supposed to be holding news conferences with the building manager. Told him the tower was quite full and the death toll is likely to rise.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's the weird part on this one. The hotel was just about to be 40 years old and was actually in the process of getting recertified, or the condo was 40 years old. The building was 40 years old. And it was in the process of being recertified for its 40-year inspection, which is a requirement in Florida, as there are so many different things that happen in that area, from tropical storms to beach erosion to you name it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of it can be unstable soil. There's a few different things going on there.
Right.
So they do have a legal requirement to recertify buildings after 40 or every 40 years. This would have been its first certification. The biggest fear that's being touted right now is the likelihood of, and I forget what this issue is called, but effectively what happens is salt water seeps into concrete and weakens the steel that's running through that concrete, basically causing the whole structure to weaken and collapse.
Mhm. And see, this has been one of those problems with beachfront properties. And what I'm wondering is if they will not find that this is some type of underground surf tension, because you can only dig so far in Florida until you hit ocean water.
Mm. And that was the Champlain Towers.
Yeah.
Their South Complex in Surfside, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the other weird part of the story is apparently Florida Governor Ron DeSantis really has drug his heels a little bit on inviting FEMA
Mm-hmm.
and declaring this a state emergency.
Right.
So yeah, like it basically has taken everyone persuading him to do it. It's taken the president, offering the support of FEMA. It has taken the mayor of Surfside, basically, it almost seemed like begging
Mm-hmm.
to please let them in,
Mm-hmm.
before he has finally signed that order.
Well, and this is the thing. DeSanto is one of the worst governors out there. I mean, our Jim Justice is an idiot. DeSanto is a vicious, stupid one.
Well, DeSantis seems to act more in line with his party and more in especially right now, against any kind of government help,
Mm-hmm.
versus Justice predominantly acts within his current party,
Mm-hmm.
not the one he got voted in on. Just side note for anyone. But he does tend to be very quick to declare a state of emergency, and has no problems accepting federal funds, especially when they involve his darling jewel, the Greenbrier.
Oh, of course. Sorry, he's a traitor. Now, the governor of Louisiana, Mississippi's not so much, but Louisiana is kicking butt and taking names. I want to give him a "you're doing a good job, governor." Refused to sign the concealed carry permit, concealed open carry permit. That would dissolve the concealed weapon laws in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Vetoed the trans ban.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few other things he's been up to. Now, he is a Democrat, which is good, but
Mm-hmm.
he's like, no, we don't have a problem here. Why are y'all guys creating issues?
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, in West Virginia, the Do It for Baby Dog campaign is giving away free guns.
Mm-hmm.
That still kills me. Well, in May, actually, because it's West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. It could happen.
Right.
But yeah, and that's the thing you have to realize when you live here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, I really hate this situation in Florida. I mean, it's always horrific.
Mm-hmm.
When any building collapses, when any building is, bombed or attacked, or it's also just especially horrendous to see this level of destruction in a building,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that fundamentally this is going to become an engineering issue.
Right.
There's because one, this just adds to like the long list of engineering fails.
Mm-hmm.
But moreover, the of course horrible, deaths and injuries that occur from it, but more so just the reality that buildings, as monolithic as they may seem, it doesn't often take much.
Mm-hmm.
One misconstruction, one missed point somewhere, one bad idea,
Right.
can literally turn something made out of concrete and steel into a pile of rubble.
Right.
And we've seen, this happen.
Yeah.
Repeatedly through history, that you can build a huge, monolithic, giant structure.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do not get the calculations right, if you do not, catch all of the maintenance issues, if you don't do all of it properly,
Right.
some of the most ridiculous sounding ideas for taking down a building really can take down a building.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you're talking about multiple story buildings.
Yes.
And that's because of a lovely thing called transfer,
Mm-hmm.
which is the weight of one floor has to transfer down to another floor. What also happens in that situation is, and as this one did, it pancaked, which is
Right.
the weight of one collapsing floor triggers the collapse
Mhm.
of another floor, which in turn falls like dominoes.
Right.
Because ultimately what happens in building construction is the building is constructed assuming that it only has to hold X,
Mm-hmm.
where X is a certain amount of weight.
Mm-hmm.
Per floor, per wall, per whatever. All of this is a very delicate balance of numbers because you don't want to overbuild a building, because that becomes very, very expensive and may cost prohibitively make it impossible to build that building.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you do not want to make it unstable. So you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to find a Goldilocks zone where it has a little more than it needs, but not too much or too little.
Mm-hmm.
But then you enter this situation where if it fails,
Mm-hmm.
this is also how they blow up buildings,
Mm-hmm.
is based on the same principles. That at key points in that structure, if you can create a weakness or a destabilization,
Mm-hmm.
it will do exactly this, which is as one layer collapses onto the next,
Mm-hmm.
it'll chain react and create another collapse, and another collapse. So, which in demolition can be very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That you can set off a key number of charges
Mm-hmm.
and bring down this multi-story building in very little more of a debris field than its actual footprint.
Right.
You can take down this entire building and it will need a marginal amount of space.
Right.
That's why there were some earlier concerns that this may have been an attack, i.e., someone intentionally brought this building down. But it's also just as possible that some structural deficiencies could do the exact same thing.
Right. And what I'm wondering, because we've had this happen here in Beckley, we had a building collapse. And they had to go and review all the other buildings in Beckley. I'm wondering if they have not reviewed these buildings in Florida and they've just fallen in such disrepair, just like we're seeing out of the Republican governor in Texas, and people not being able to run their dryers or their air conditioners in 107 degrees.
Well, one of the things that you do run into is having a legal minimum, like a 40-year recertification, is important.
Right.
But all buildings require maintenance in between.
Right.
And again, that it's jumping to a conclusion to say that that's what happened, is his building was poorly maintained. It's just not going to surprise me if that becomes what the problem is.
Right.
That this is effectively a maintenancing issue. Because we've seen that out of a lot of managed properties, which I would assume this condo is going to be a managed property.
Right.
And that there were more than likely, that this is going to be an investment group that owns this property.
Right.
And they always want to keep their costs low.
Right. Well, what's interesting, according to USA Today, the building had been sinking into the earth at alarming rates. Researchers, a Florida high-rise collapsed Wednesday, determining to be unstable years ago. According to Florida International University, the building that was at construction in 1981 on a reclaimed wetland had been sinking at an alarming rate since 1990. To 2020, the study conducted the professor of the Department of Earth and Environmental Florida. I looked at it in the morning and said, "Oh my God, we did detect that." He said that of the Chamberlain Tower South.
Okay. So this was a building that was already starting to show issues.
Right.
And again, because this is an evolving story.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. And especially when you go back to managed properties and investment groups, I guarantee you there is an investment group.
Right.
That was trying to maximize all the money they could get out of this building, knowing that it was going to more than likely not make its 40-year certification.
Right.
And either they miscalculated horribly how bad the structural issues were, and that this should have been an uninhabitable structure.
Right.
I.e., for your own rational self-interest. As the investment group, you really want to condemn this.
Yes.
You really don't want people living in it. You really don't want the liability that, you could get another 2, 3, 4, 5 years of income out of it. But when it fails, you're going to be potentially facing millions upon millions.
Wonder how many other Florida high-rises are sinking.
Well, I mean, it's Florida. It happens.
It does.
I mean, because you've got to realize, between storms, erosion, all the different things that happen to Florida. This isn't very stable land to begin with, because it effectively is all a wetland. I don't think there's that much dirt in Florida. This nice, solid, hard rock, earth, dirt. you want to go build on that.
Exactly.
Literally anything you build in Florida, you should be building with the idea it's going to be gone tomorrow.
Right.
That's sort of like our ideas in West Virginia, and you know, I'll say this, and there are people that live here that get very hot about this. Is that there's some areas of West Virginia? Why the hell did you rebuild? Why? Mother Nature has made it very clear she does not want you to live there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she has done everything to flood you out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have seen your house go down a river so many times. Why? Why, oh, why would you take that money and put another house right there?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a similar idea with Florida. It's beautiful.
Right.
Parts of, or you know, the touristy areas of Florida are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
I think everyone could understand wanting to build a hotel, build a condo, build a thing, and visit there.
Right.
I think it's great and wonderful in that regard. However, I don't think anyone goes into moving to Florida and thinks, oh yeah, I'm totally keeping this for 40, 50. This is going to pass through many generations of my family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't think you can have that attachment to property in Florida. I don't know how.
Right.
Like, you have to accept that with everything going on, this is a here today, gone tomorrow at any point situation.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean I blame the people who live there.
Right.
Nor do I, you know, sit here and blame them for choosing to live in this condo. That's not my point. But as the functional owner of the building,
Mm-hmm.
while I understand you want to maximize your profitability from this property and the ownership of it, you also have to know when to step back.
Well, and you need to understand when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the property is no longer valuable, you either need to tear it down or start over. And I don't feel like people get that. So, you know, sometimes investments are just that, investments.
Right. Well, and in this situation, and again, I'm making a big assumption that there's an investment group, but I'll just about guarantee it,
Mm-hmm.
that manages this property, because you are talking about a 40-year-old property.
Mm-hmm.
In an area that primarily thrives on new.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is an area that has excited growth of buildings.
Right.
That you're seeing constant construction, tear down, demolition, rebuilding all the time.
Right.
And you know, this is a large metropolitan area.
Right.
It is a large tourist destination. You can charge ridiculous amounts of money to rent, you know, hotel rooms and the like. And I would say most likely in this situation, this has been an old hotel.
Right.
You know, it probably operated for 10 to 15 years
Mm-hmm.
and then became condos.
Right.
It may have at one point been a timeshare
Right.
that someone had shares in, that ultimately converted to a condo and became apartments,
Mm-hmm.
which is effectively what this condo situation is. It's apartments.
Mm-hmm. Fancy word for apartments. But no, I've often wondered with New Orleans who thought it was a good idea to build below sea level. I agree, Brenda. I look at the coast areas and I'm going, well, Florida in general, I'm going to say this, and Florida ain't going to like it, I'll say it anyhow. Y'all guys need to be ready to swim. If you can't swim, you don't need to be living in Florida, because that's going to sink. We've already seen it sinking now.
Well, and again, you're building on sand.
Right.
Not the most structurally stable thing, especially when it's surrounded by a lot of water.
Yep.
And more importantly, is holding a lot of water.
Right.
It's just not.
It's not feasible. It's not a good idea. And the coastline is always moving inward. That's why I like my mountains. I'll stay in my mountains, go a little higher. but there was back in the 1980s, and if I can find the map, I will put it into the break room. And that was a map of what the U.S. would look like after the melting of the ice caps and some torrential rains and stuff.
And I think that ultimately would result in, if I remember correctly, the potential of oceanfront property in West Virginia.
Close. If not, we can get to beach in no time.
Like, that's a thing to really, like, keep in mind there.
Right.
But then again, you can probably take anywhere in the world and say, why would you want to live there? Why would you want to build there? Why would you want to rebuild there? Again, I'm not arguing that Florida's beautiful. I just can't understand, you know, does anyone get attached to a piece of property there?
Right.
Like, you have to know from the beginning that here today, gone tomorrow. And for as horrible as this sounds, and please listen to the full comment before you judge it, I guess in the one thankful note of this story, is at least this went down randomly and not in the middle of a major storm system destroying other areas of Florida simultaneously.
Right.
I say that for a reason. This is a horrible situation.
It is.
But right now, there are a lot of resources that are available, and there is more likely to be a lot higher survivability by the people that have been trapped in this building than should it have gone down in the middle of a horrific storm.
Right. But then I have to ask myself, if it had gone down in a Pacific storm, would we even get to the root cause? And how many buildings are we looking at that are in the same situation?
And Heart's Love, we do need a date of birth.
Yep.
He's happy to answer your question. We just really need the date of birth.
Right.
For you, and month, day, and year.
Yep. And thank you for the like and subscribe, Heart's Love. See, elevators in Ohio have to be inspected every 3 years.
All right, Heart's Love is back.
Awesome.
And so, Heart's Love, if Joanna, 418-2000, just wanted to ask if Jackson thinks about me and has romantic feelings towards me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me take a look here. I feel that he does, but Joanna, there's a lot of stress, a lot of aggravation, a lot of not resting well. Oh, come on. I guess I'm going to have to do the makeup thing going on with him. This is a lot of thought. It's going to be a relationship that he takes on very slowly because he's got so much stuff going on. But I do feel that there is a love, a desire there for it to come with the Sun card showing out. So you're going to have patience here. And you're going to have to sit back and let it slowly build up. Okay?
And there we go.
Awesome. All right. Well, guys, we need to wrap this up, unfortunately.
I know, but we do have room for one more story, don't we?
Yes, we do.
All righty. So this is our last one. We promise. This is the one that is creating a little bit of controversy online. This is a worker at a Hy-Vee grocery store in Eagan, Minnesota, that effectively walks away after apparently some teens. Let's see, I think we had ages on them. No, I'm not finding those. Anyway, teens lit on fire a fireworks display. Lot of controversy on this one. Really see people's colors on this one. In terms of the employee in question, effectively stands back, takes video of the situation, and walks away.
Right.
Does not attempt to do anything towards this situation.
Right.
A lot of people in retail coming to his defense, going, a lot of companies pretty much tell you, don't do that.
Right.
Clear your area. Like, make sure no one's in immediate danger in your area, and then get out. That's all you can do. In terms of corporate policy. A lot of other workers are pointing out that many corporations will literally pretty much punish you for not doing that.
Right.
In terms of termination, denied medical claims, denied workman's comp, working any angle they can to ensure that they have zero liability in this situation. Some other companies are apparently more likely to potentially politely ask if you are trained to use a fire extinguisher and one is nearby and you feel safe doing so, but don't go out of your way.
And we have two different viewpoints on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, my viewpoint is if he was clearing his area, why did he have time to take a cell phone or a TikTok of it? Two, I'm not hearing any fire alarms in the video. I'm not hearing any reports. He isn't moving. He's like, yeah, what the fuck ever. Like, there was no payment of attention there.
On one hand, I don't think he necessarily needed to rush into the situation, like not run towards the fire. But definitely clear the area, pull a fire alarm, make sure 911's being called, and get the hell out.
Yeah.
I think standing around to take video was a bad choice.
Yes.
But again, towards his own health and safety. As well as, to some degree, not a good choice in general.
Right. There has to be customers here because he was filmed doing this. Why is he not trying to get those customers to leave the area immediately? Why is he not trying to activate fire protocol? Every location, every public building has a fire protocol.
Okay, so in this situation, what's effectively happened is this is an in-cap display of fireworks. And effectively, some teenagers thought it'd be funny to set them on fire inside the store. Now, as for the liability, if he rushes towards the fire, attempts to put it out, does anything that could potentially cause him harm, which when you're dealing with fireworks in general, we all know how dangerous that is. It is a redneck pastime that often, ends in the emergency room. Just saying, alcohol and fireworks, we already know, cost fingers.
And apparently lives, because there was a redneck hoedown up in Kentucky where 99 people were arrested and one person had their throat slit. But no, this is not the employee I want working in my retail store.
Like, I would have been fine if he had seen the incident, turned, and left.
Right.
I think I don't know necessarily a fireable offense so much as just bad judgment, dude. To stand there and take video.
Right.
Like,
definitely a fireable offense.
Well, but in turn, though, it's property, it's product, I don't see the need for him to rush towards the fire and try to put it out. Because there is a big safety risk had he have turned and went the other way and tried to help stop this.
In the
Like,
video, he was less than, I would say, 16 foot away.
Which was too close.
Yeah.
And that's my point.
You need to get out and move.
Yeah.
No, he's terminated. And no.
Well, but on the other hand, there are many people that push the other direction, that he should have been trying to put this out. He should have been trying to get a fire extinguisher. He should have been trying to protect the product and the losses to the store and the damage to the store. And, you know, should basically be risking his life. And I'm going, I'm not there either. No. Like, I'm, you know, and in comments on this, I've made my own case that I'm sorry, I work IT, I transport client devices. Now, do I take, you know, some diligence and care and concern with how I transport them and ensuring that they are not clearly, plainly visible in my vehicle? I don't have signage on my vehicle that says what I do for a living. It'd be nice to have a roving billboard for my services. I'm sure I'd make some more money and get more clients off of that. At the same time, it also turns my vehicle into a giant technology pinata that says, hit with the stick, see what falls out. So, you know, and I do try to park carefully. If I have to stop at rest areas, I choose those carefully. I park carefully at gas stations if I have to stop and refuel. And I will effectively rearrange my plan for the day. And at least make sure that, you know, your device gets safely transported. At the same time, should the worst happen, and in case anyone thought differently, I don't think any of my clients, though, would argue with this. I think I have amazing clients. Yeah, if someone comes up to me at gunpoint and wants your laptop, I'll be filing a police report about your stolen laptop. Not after I have tried to defend it with my life, but after I have calmly handed it to the person with the gun.
Right, but you're not going to stand there and film it and interview him.
No.
That's what this one has done.
No, I'm not going to film an interview and have a nice conversation with the dude robbing me.
Right, that's what this one's doing. You're telling me him standing 1 hour away does not hear these teenagers light the fireworks, talk about the fireworks. Yo, how cool this is, dude. He's a fucking teenager. They should be able to hear this shit. Paid no attention to this.
On that part, I don't know that anyone can speak to, at least right now until we know more, any potential, like, was he wearing a headset? You know, was he just seriously not paying attention to what was going on around him? Again, I'm not saying he's employee of the month.
Right.
Like, I will not call him employee of the month.
Customers at the end of his aisle on the other side of this fire, and he's not even making moves to get them to move.
Right, but the other the bigger issue that has come up out of the story is the two-sided part of, should he be risking his life to put out this fire, or should he be walking away from it?
He should.
That's been the bigger question.
Right.
I'm not saying he's employee of the year. I'm not saying he's employee of the month, or the day, or the week, or like the 5 minutes. But personally, with the number of people that are saying he should be going towards that fire to try to put it out, that's where I take the issue. Is no. I think he could be a much better employee and could do many different things in this situation than what he did in terms of following policies and general safe reactions to a fire that he did not do.
Right.
But no, there's a whole like team put out the fire, and I think that team has lost their flipping mind. Team safely evacuate the area, I'm with.
Right.
That's where I'm at. Again, don't think he's employee of the month.
No. Termination of the month.
Yeah, but not for not putting out this fire. Like, no, he should not be risking his life to put out this fire. But he should have been getting the hell out of it.
Right. And getting people out of there.
Mm-hmm.
No. Not taking video for TikTok. He has a phone in his hands. Why is he not on the phone with 911?
Again, we see this clip at a point in which everything has already started.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. He may have.
And no, because you have to stay on the phone with 911.
Not if you call and they say we've already received your report. They typically will hang up on you at that point.
Mm.
At least that's been my 911 experience, is in a large group, if they've received multiple calls already,
Mm-hmm.
typically you get just told, thank you, we already know, and we're on the line with someone else.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Yeah. Well, luckily, a pickup truck fire department was able to put out the fire.
Which is good.
Yeah.
And that's what fire departments do, not employees.
Mm.
Sorry, they don't. Not in my opinion. Like, again, he is not employee of the month. But I'm sorry, if I'm running a retail space, walk away. Call 911. That is all I ask you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is try to do that quickly. We do want to get the fire department there quickly. But at the same time, get to safety. Don't go grabbing a fire extinguisher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because some people just make fires worse with those.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how, but they do. And personally, I'm not going to be the first one to grab a fire extinguisher. I don't know how many times I've listened to how, you're supposed to use them. I don't know. It seems like there are way too many exceptions for an ABC fire extinguisher. There's a lot of situations it works beautifully in if it's the right fire extinguisher for the situation, which is the cause of most common fires.
Mm-hmm.
Fire extinguisher is a great choice, not a problem. You typically have to be real stupid to aim it wrong and make the situation worse. However, if you're in a situation with different chemicals involved or explosives involved, apparently you can inadvertently make everything worse.
Well, again, we are differing in opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there should have been a fire extinguisher because they all have them. You go to a tent, any fire extinguisher tent, fireworks selling, they have like 5 to 7 of them around.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have easily been used.
Okay.
And he's not even escorting people out of the area.
That's the part I have the issue with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, right there.
Right.
Alrighty. So that's been our Friday.
Yeah, that's another Friday in the books, guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let me get switched over because we do want to thank our Patreons. Oh.
There you go again.
Sorry. Alrighty, sorry about that, guys. I didn't catch it. It scrolls much smaller on my screen. So we do want to thank our Patreon sponsors. We really do appreciate our baristas who help support the Coffee Shop Network. And I'm just waiting for them to swing back around so I'd make sure not to miss anyone. So thank you, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryant, Ashley Gist, Shannon C, and Shannon D. If you'd like to learn more about the show or how to become a Patreon sponsor, please make sure to visit PCSPnetwork.com.
Yep. And reminder that on Monday, Baristas, we will be having our coffee chat. We'll be talking about some new things we're going to be doing, hoping to improve our performance for you guys, and also what we can do to do better. All right, y'all. You guys have a magical day, a great weekend, and we'll see you baristas on Monday, listeners on Tuesday. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. On time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no flight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now.